I think we're all just curious which Bayonetta game we're getting now. Just me? Okay. The specs are out, the Switch 2 is real. More powerful hardware, upgraded screen, better battery, and maybe, just maybe, Joy-Cons that don't drift like they're trying to leave you mid-game. It looks like what people have been asking for since 2017, a true successor to one of the best-selling consoles of all time. But here's the thing. The original Switch, it wasn't a guaranteed win. Underpowered, kind of weird, released right after Nintendo's biggest flop, and yet it changed everything. So now the Switch 2 is finally here. The question isn't just what's new, it's can Nintendo pull this off again? Their track record isn't great at following a very big success. So this is a play-by-play of how the Nintendo Switch saved Nintendo and what the Switch 2 has to live up to. So yeah, the specs, real. The console, real. The hype, extremely real. Nintendo just dropped a full direct and this thing is loaded. A 1080p screen with up to 120 frames per second, HDR in both handheld and docked mode, 256 gigabytes internal storage, finally, 4K output when docked, dual USB-C ports, built-in mic with noise canceling, magnetic snapping Joy-Con 2s with bigger sticks, better buttons, and that new C button for chat. And yeah, game chat. Voice and video calls baked into the system. You can screen share, take group selfies, mute on the fly, or go full Discord mode and handheld while yelling at your friends in Mario Party. Then there's game share, like DS download play, but evolved. One person owns the game, 3 others can join, locally or online. It just works. Apparently. They even built a tech demo called Switch 2 Welcome Tour, where you can literally walk around the game learning about the console's features because, of course they did, it's Nintendo. It's kind of like Astro's Playroom, but for the Switch 2. But it's paid for? As far as games go, here's what's launching day 1, or we're getting full-blown Switch 2 upgrades. Mario Kart World. Open world racing, 24-player knockouts, free roam, global circuits. This is the Mario Kart MMO nobody expected. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, 4K, 120 FPS, mouse support. Pokémon Legends ZA, expanded, upgraded, smoother in Lumio City. Hopefully those windows are looking better so beat 'em ups isn't crashing out over this again.
In Game Freak's rendition of that, they have these beautiful iron metal balcony JPEGs. What? I'm actually quite speechless.
Super Mario Party Jamboree TV, camera-based minigames, carnival shooters, full body movement. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, HDR. Personally, I'm most excited for these. I've been dying to play Zelda at a good frame rate since it came out, but it's got HDR, better frame rates, and also a new Zelda Notes app to guide your adventure. Not really sure the use case of that, or if I would personally use it, but you know, we'll see. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, new exclusive story mode, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which is insane. Final Fantasy VII Remake, one of my personal favorite games. Hades 2, Split Fiction. This is from the dev team that did It Takes Two. Hitman World of Assassination, WWE 2K, NBA 2K, Madden, EAFC, Civ 7, Borderlands 4, Hogwarts Legacy, Enter the Gungeon 2, Kirby Air Riders, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Bravely Default HD, and a new game from FromSoftware. And to top it all off, GameCube classics in 4K, Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, Soul Calibur 2, and a new wireless GameCube controller with a C button. This isn't a warm-up, it's not a staggered rollout, everyone's here. But here's what I think is most insane about this. These aren't all ports. Third-party studios are launching new IPs here. Hades 2, this is the first proper showcase of this game in a Nintendo Direct. FromSoftware announced a brand new game on Nintendo's stage. That doesn't happen. Even Cyberpunk is here. Cyberpunk on a Nintendo console. It's like watching a Lamborghini pull up to a Chuck E. Cheese and go, yeah, I like this. This isn't just a solid launch lineup, it's a signal. The devs believe, the publishers believe. They're betting on the Switch 2 hard. Because for years, Nintendo was the second stop. You'd launch on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, and maybe bring it to the Switch later if the fan didn't melt. Now, they're launching alongside Nintendo, sometimes even first on Nintendo, and that says everything. I'm trying to get this channel up to 10,000 subs. I'm halfway there. I would love for you to be along for the ride. Okay, let's get right into it. All right, now that the dust is settling, let's talk about what we're actually getting. On paper, this thing looks like a home run. But here's the thing, Nintendo's hit home runs before, and they've also tripped rounding first and face planted right into the dirt. So let's rewind to what happened before the Switch changed everything. In 2006, Nintendo dropped the Wii, and the industry didn't know what hit it. While Sony and Microsoft were obsessed with horsepower and high-def graphics, Nintendo showed up with a motion-controlled white box that looked like a router, and it came with Wii Sports. But here's the thing, it worked like crazy. It wasn't about specs, it was about fun. Bowling in the living room, boxing matches with your dad, grandma's breaking hips over virtual tennis. It sold well despite being the very first console to make your grandma accidentally throw a controller through TV. The Wii exploded because it was accessible, cheap, and it actually got non-gamers to care. But the trick was in the marketing. Nintendo ran these brilliant, simple ads. Two Japanese businessmen would show up at someone's house, bow and say,
"We would like to play."
Huh?
Then suddenly the whole family was flailing Wiimotes in unison. It was charming, memorable, and totally unlike anything else in gaming. They weren't selling graphics, they were selling connection, they were selling experience. The message was crystal clear. This is for everyone, and it's fun. It sold over 100 million units. It beat the PS3, it beat the Xbox 360. It made Nintendo cool again. But here's the catch. The Wii was lightning in a bottle, and Nintendo tried to catch it again with the Wii U, and it absolutely flopped. The Wii U was announced in 2011 and launched a year later. It was underpowered, confusingly branded, and worst of all, it didn't know who it was for. Nintendo tried to make a console for everyone and ended up making a console for no one. The name sounded like an accessory. The gamepad, big, clunky, and barely worked outside your living room. The marketing? Honestly, what marketing? The Wii U revealed at E3 in 2011 left people baffled. There was no clear shots of the console, just a gamepad.
Hey, it's time to watch some baseball.
Okay.
Reporters walked away thinking it was an add-on for the Wii, and Nintendo didn't correct them. The ads weren't playful, they weren't inviting. They leaned weirdly technical, the families awkwardly demonstrating use cases that didn't actually exist. And unlike the Wii, which was pitched like a magic trick, the Wii U was pitched like a software update. Third-party devs bailed fast. Big titles skipped it entirely. Even Nintendo didn't seem fully committed to it. It sold just over 13 million units total, less than the GameCube, and way less than what a company like Nintendo needed. The failure was so bad that people started asking the unthinkable. Was Nintendo done? Okay. Pause the dramatic music here. I have something to say that I'm realizing in post for this video. Okay, I used to think the Wii U was a punchline. I'll totally concede to that. But while going through this video, I realized something kind of important. The Wii U wasn't a failure. Okay, well, it actually was, like, unequivocally. Look at the numbers. It totally flopped. But it was also something else, and that's actually really important to the story here. It was a prototype for the Switch. You see that? Do you see what's happening here? He's playing Mario on a controller with no TV, and it's a home console. Do you get what I'm saying here, guys? Tell me that isn't the Switch in beta. We all just thought the Wii U was like a huge mess, but look at it. The bones are there. Nintendo wasn't lost. They were just iterating, folks. Iterating. It's good. The problem was the tech could not keep up with the vision, right? But they kept going, and when the Switch launched, it was a refinement of what they were trying with the Wii U. They just weren't there yet. Could you play it outside the living room? No. Was it kind of bad? Yeah. But was it really important? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anyway, back to your regularly scheduled program. Mobile games were eating attention spans. The PS4 and Xbox One were dominating, and Nintendo was stuck with a console nobody wanted, hemorrhaging relevance with every fiscal quarter. So in 2015, with their backs against the wall, Nintendo had to do something bold. In March 2017, Nintendo launched the Switch. And if you had looked at the raw specs, this isn't something that you would have bet on. It wasn't competing with the PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. Also, what is with Microsoft's branding? That's a different video, okay. It didn't even support 4K. Its online services was primitive. Nintendo's last console had flopped so hard that people thought the brand was cooked. But from the very first reveal, Nintendo was playing a different game. The Switch wasn't about more power. It was about different power. Yoshiaki Koizumi, the guy who helped direct Mario Galaxy, became the face of the system. He introduced the Switch like it was an idea, not a box. Play at home, play on the go, play with friends, play solo. Just play. Nintendo sold the experience, not the hardware, and it landed hard. The reveal trailer was modern, it was cinematic. It showed adults playing in planes, apartments, parks, on rooftops, which is super normal, I guess. It wasn't just smart, it was aspirational. This wasn't about blue ocean strategy anymore. It was about proving Nintendo could be cool again. And then they backed it up with a killer launch lineup. Breath of the Wild wasn't just a good game, it was a reset button for the Zelda franchise. Open world freedom, physics-based systems, story told in fragments, a sense of loneliness and discovery, rare in AAA games. It was produced by Eiji Aonuma and nearly didn't make launch, but Nintendo delayed the console to make sure that it did. That decision might have saved the company. It sold the fantasy of the Switch. Take Zelda with you. That was all people needed. Then came the flood. Within 9 months, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, ARMS, I guess, and Super Mario Odyssey. And just 18 months after launch, Smash Bros. Ultimate. The first 2 years of the Switch had more heavy hitters than most consoles get in 6. Then came the third-party wave. Nintendo made key changes with the Switch. They switched to NVIDIA architecture, better dev tools and documentation. They gave visibility boosts on the eShop. Games that had no business being on a Nintendo console suddenly were. Doom, Skyrim, The Witcher 3, LA Noire. Even massive IPs like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Monster Hunter found a second life on the Switch. And behind the scene, indie devs were experiencing the Switch bump. That's how we got Stardew Valley, Hollow Knight, Dead Cells, Celeste, Katana Zero, Undertale. Switch became the best hybrid of AAA and indie gaming. Even though it couldn't run every modern game at full power, it didn't really matter because the experience of taking it anywhere was worth the trade-off. You could literally play Skyrim on the toilet, which I'm sure a lot of you did. That was marketing you couldn't beat. Nintendo didn't just change the hardware, they changed their tone. Gone were the overly scripted press conferences. In came Nintendo Directs, lean, fan-first showcases that built real hype. They dropped teases, surprise launches, first-party updates, and it worked. Then to top it all off came along Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and a global pandemic.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
It dropped right as the world shut down. People were doing virtual weddings, celebs were tweeting their friend codes. It sold over 40 million copies. It became the cultural game of lockdown, and Switch consoles became impossible to find. Somehow, the Switch just kept on selling. Even without Netflix, even with voice chat that felt like it came out of a tin can, even with Joy-Cons that still drifted like they were trying to ghost you. Something some of us have more experience with than others. Nintendo slowly rolled out retro games via Switch Online, which was nostalgic, if a little slow. But it didn't matter because the games were that good. And the console fit people's lives. It was frictionless, it was joyful, it was enough. Most consoles slow down after 5 years. The Switch kept winning after 7. It didn't just revive Nintendo, it defined an era of gaming. Now we see companies like Xbox, Sony, and Steam coming out with their own portable consoles. This is all because of the Switch and wouldn't be happening without it.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick.
The Switch wasn't just a success, it was a generational win. It saved Nintendo. It outsold the Wii. It dominated for nearly a decade. And now, Nintendo has to follow that up. No pressure, guys. Historically, Nintendo gets weird with sequels. The Wii U chased the Wii and faceplanted. The 3DS followed the DS and launched with a whimper. Despite being good later, I will concede to that. Even the N64 sold half as much as the SNES. So yeah, expectations are a dangerous thing. The Switch 2 is the first time in decades that Nintendo is doing something that they almost never do. A straight up, obvious successor. This hasn't been done since the SNES. Even then, it wasn't that obvious to people at the time. More power, same format, same name, no gimmick, except the mouse, except the mouse. We're all excited about the mouse. I know you were gonna comment that down below. I know, okay? Easy, easy. The thing is, this is exactly what fans asked for. And that's the risk, because the Switch didn't win because it was portable or cool, or even because Zelda. It won because the games kept coming. That's what built momentum. That's what made it stick.
This wasn't just a launch announcement, it was a statement. The hardware looks strong, the features are smart, and the games, they're already here. Nintendo didn't just show up, they brought the whole industry with them. So now the question is not, will the Switch 2 live up to the original? It's, can it do what the Switch did and keep the magic alive for another decade? Because the Switch didn't win on power or specs or even Zelda, it won because the hits kept coming. If Nintendo and all their partners can keep that momentum, this thing's gonna crush. If not, well, history's been weird to Nintendo sequels before.
You can't patch in fun, and Nintendo knows that. That's why everyone's watching this launch like a hawk, because this isn't just a hardware refresh. It's a bet that Nintendo can scale what they started without losing the magic, because that's what made the Switch special. Not the dock, not the Joy-Cons, though please let that drift into the sunset. Oh my gosh, it was the surprise. But let me know what you think. Is Nintendo about to do a back-to-back, something they've never done before? Are we heading into Wii U territory again? Something I doubt personally, but some people think so. Drop your boldest Switch 2 prediction in the comments and bookmark this for when we're all wrong. Either way, it's gonna be wild to watch. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Musubi's in the house. Okay, bye.